actually make it public, which means you can't share it about and you can't comment, which is rather annoying. However, now that it is public, which I have just turned over, which means you can now comment. And if you got a notification with your YouTube account, yes, you're a subscriber and you got notifications, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's dive into some housekeeping, as always. If you haven't had this notification, you're just kind of seeing this on the fly, do subscribe, hit notifications on Periscope, hit notifications on, well, maybe not Twitter, because you get all of my stuff and nonsense on Twitter, but certainly on Facebook, on YouTube and on Periscope, you can hit notifications and it lets you know when we're going live. As always, I'd also like to say thank you very much indeed to all my Patreon supporters. No changes to the lineup. We've had nobody leaving, which means I must be doing something decent. I must be doing something good, which means I want to say thank you very much indeed to our Patreon supporters. So thank you very much indeed to everyone who has jumped in and shown support. It's very much appreciated. The bits came through. The Patreon payment came through today, actually. So that's going to go into paying for the SoundCloud, which leads me on to the next thing. As one or two people who have been paying attention to my social media know, I have been uploading the audio of this season's run of episodes up on SoundCloud. That's also going out to iTunes. It's also going up to Spotify. Same drill. Please do like, subscribe, and comment. Do support us on those platforms as well. I won't be uploading this episode because, to be fair, this is going to be mostly visual based, and I shall explain when we go live. The other thing as well I just wanted to point out as well is all our social medias. Please do support us by liking and subscribing. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitter. So please spread the word and let everyone know what we're up to. Englishman in San Diego and also Englishman SDCC. One or two people joining us already. Toby is saying hello. Good morning, Leonard. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Toby. And Into the Blue, Mr. Hello, everyone. It's listen, it's a pleasure to have you along. Slightly different show today. I'll explain when we go live. But listen, thank you very much indeed for coming along. Michael P says good morning all. Hello there, welcome along. But wherever you're watching, do let us know where you're watching from, what you're up to today. And of course, jump in with anything you want to kind of get into conversation with. I mean, Andrew English is saying hello from London. Hello there, Andrew. No doubt that, I mean, I don't know if Andrew's the kind of person who'd be interested in the news about Nottingham Comic Con. Nottingham Comic Con, of course, has unfortunately made the announcement that it won't be going ahead, but it's again like a number of the events that are taking place. It's all about how people can kind of go to shows when there's social distancing informed and venues are shutting down and they're not able to implement any kind of protection. We're waiting on Wales. At this point it is still technically going ahead. We'll see how that goes. I mean, fingers crossed for them. At the end of the day, it's a big enough venue. It's got the ability to host it. It's just whether it's got the ability to do one in, one out. What social distancing is going to be like at that point. Everyone's kind of like at that that tenterhooks at the moment. If anything, because while we're technically still in lockdown, and we are people, we are still technically in lockdown. At the end of the day, our lords and masters are opening up the doors, and those restrictions are starting to come down. So now it's a case of finding out how the more official venues can to work. So we'll see how that goes. Welcome to Talking Con, a cup of tea with Englishman in San Diego. My name is Leonard Sultana. Each and every Wednesday and Sunday at this point we are doing these shows as a focal point, as a group hug for the Comic-Con community. A way for us to come together, celebrate the events that we go to, celebrate the fandoms that we enjoy, talk to some really cool and interesting people. We've got two great guests later on this week. I'll talk about that in a bit. Today is, well, the last couple of days have been awkward. Basically, I had a guest lined up, which was going to be really cool and a really high-profile guest. They started to get a bit flaky and disappeared off the radar, but then you read their social media and understood that they had other things on their plate. Then I got two guests lined up this morning. One cancelled at 12 o'clock and the other one cancelled about 45 minutes ago. So next thing you know, I'm without a guest and I'm without an idea for a show. Kind of. Because something else happened this week which I'm particularly thrilled about. And I'm going to explain about that as we talk about this next part of the conversation. This one's going to be a little bit self-indulgent and you're going to have to excuse me. Because in 2010 was my first San Diego Comic-Con. 2011 was the year I returned. And over those 2 years I noticed there were a lot of Brit accents, not only in the crowd, but up there on the stages, the talents that were being introduced upon stage. And I wondered just how many Brits were actually going to San Diego Comic-Con. And so when I returned in 2011, very, very late at night after I'd finished a DJ gig, it was something like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I very hastily put together a quick logo in Photoshop and put together a Facebook group. That was in 2011. In 2012, we met up for the first time. And that was one of the single highlight moments of my San Diego Comic-Con. To walk out onto the Hilton gas lamp fire pit and have a bunch of Brits all staring at me. People that we'd not met in person, only been interacting as we'd been kind of talking over the year. But then we were all there. And it was something it was quite an emotional moment. I'm not going to lie. I very nearly teared up. No, wait, I did. There were a few tears. And over the years, that group has grown and grown. I wanted to focus on an Englishman in San Diego, so I let the reins go about 2 years ago, and I let them go to a very capable gentleman. Gary Quigley's joining me. Hello there, Gary. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Leonard. Thanks for having me. How are you keeping?
I'm fine, thank you. Like I say, we're going to be talking about the San Diego Comic-Con UK attendees group, Spirit of 1986, the English Invasion, or British Invasion, which is one of the most convoluted group names on Facebook ever. I mean, I've got to ask, we'll start with your story. I mean, I kind of gave a brief introduction to the group. How did you find out about the group?
Oh, that's a good question. So myself and one of my best friends have been fans of superheroes, genre TV, since we were kids. And we had been to a few UK cons. London Film and Comic Con was possibly the biggest one that we've been to. But around 2012, we decided, let's go to this San Diego Comic Con that we keep hearing about on the news and Empire magazine. And it was my friend who found the group through the Friends of CC forum. He posted on that some advice on how you get a badge to San Diego Comic Con, and they referred us to the group. And I remember the first thing that struck me by the Facebook group was that whenever a new member joins the group, we give a traditional warm welcome where we have a personalised message to welcome them, ask any questions. And that kind of struck me because we've been in so many Facebook groups which are quite angry places. This was the polar opposite of what is standard for Facebook. So we had joined the group summer 2012, and through the group managed to get 4 days plus preview night for San Diego Comic Con 2013. And I think, like so many members, going to Comic Con was meant to be a bucket list journey, something that you do once and then you get out of your system and you do other things with your life. But we quickly caught the bug. And since then, I've been to 6 San Diego Comic Cons and was supposed to be going this year for my 7th, but the way the world is, that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool to hear that you felt that the group was very inclusive, and that was certainly something I wanted to set up. I mean, the personalized message. I mean, I certainly did, because at that point it was the small enough numbers and it was a small enough group to manage where we could do those individual messages. But it was, I think Neil Williamson, who was one of the very early members, who set out the tone of those messages, because he included the phrase that no question is a bad question. There is no such thing as a bad question. If anyone wanted information, it was a place that people could go and put things up. I know also that I don't know who started the Hail Friend and Welcome, the Lord of the Rings quote. That's kind of faded off in recent years, but certainly that was on every single one as well. I can't remember who put that one in, but that was also a way of kind of like, it was our kind of like text way of going, the Vulcan handshake. It was welcome along. That was the idea, and it's great to hear that that's how you felt the group was. Obviously, I have a slightly different relationship with the group now, because I am a member. I'm not even one of the mods anymore, as far as I'm aware. I very much bow to the will of the mods and of the group, and the group has definitely evolved from how I first envisioned it. How have you seen the group change over the years?
Well, I think when you say the mods run it, the group runs itself, because I think, we've tried to retain that community feel, that place of positivity, that inclusive environment that you talked about, by doing the welcome message, by doing the birthday message, and that's something that we've tried to retain and throughout. And I think we noticed, we're members of so many Facebook groups that are maybe not inclusive environments, or maybe quite aggressive environments, and I think we've all, ever since the group was set up, we tried to retain that friendly environment where we talk all year about San Diego Comic Con, talk about movies, TV shows, and all culminates when we get out to Comic Con. And I think one of the things about coming to San Diego Comic Con from the UK is it's not cheap to do. So we do have members who come into the group, attend Comic Con, and maybe are less active, but they're still there. And then we have a fresh group of members who come in, and so it's kind of like a cycle, just purely because of the cost of it. But I think it is a very close group, and we all meet up at UK cons as well. So I think the group has evolved, but it hasn't at the same time. We do try and keep to those original DNA that was infused with the group at the start.
Yeah. I'm showing some pictures now. Here we go. This is certainly one of the things that I was talking about at the beginning of the show, with the hangouts, the meetups that we do. Now, I believe that the venue that was chosen was by Neil Williamson, who is at the back there, stood up. And it was purely because that's where he was staying. He was staying at the Hilton Bayfront, and asked if we could use the fire pit. And it kind of got agreed as, okay, we're not going to rope it off for you, because that would be a bit unfair for everyone else. But if you just want to stake your claim and come down, and every single year we have just kind of taken over that little corner, and it's straight across from the convention center, so we really see the hustle and bustle of San Diego. We see the building kind of in full light as people are kind of still streaming out of the building. Sorry, the Hilton gas lamp. You're quite right, Dan. Sorry, it's been one of those days. But it's just been fun to have those meetups, because we have them on the Thursday and the Sunday. For the Thursday to kind of talk about the things that we've seen on the preview night. Sorry, the Wednesday. Sorry. Oh good God. Okay, Wednesday night preview night meetup, to talk about the things that we've seen at preview night, but also to talk about possible lineup groups, the approach of the con for the rest of the week, things that we're looking forward to seeing, that kind of thing. And then we have the one on the Sunday, which is very much a case of we're all battered and bruised. We want to share our stories, and then we closed the town down because we Brits can drink and Americans can't. It's I think that kind of sums up the meetings. But I mean, is there any special memories for the meetings for yourself?
Yes. I laugh at you saying that we're battered and bruised by the Sunday of Comic Con. I think a few members are battered and bruised even more after the Sunday night meetup. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic venue. And whenever I think about San Diego Comic Con, I go back to my first year in 2013 of going to my first group meetup and just sitting there, chilling out over the fire pit, looking at the convention centre, having no idea what was going to happen over the next few days, but just being so excited about it. There's one of your pictures of, I don't know if we were battered and bruised by that point, but we were
on our way.
we were on our way. You know, so yeah, the Wednesday night meetup is a fantastic occasion, and unfortunately we can't do it this year. But we didn't want to go a year without having a meetup. So this year we are going to still have our preview night meetup, but over Zoom, which everyone seems to be using. And I know one of your audience members, Dan Berry, he's threatened to go to the fire pit to rub it in our faces. Go to the fire pit, but we can't. So I've always been meaning to ask Neil why the fire pit, because everybody loves that particular venue. And it's
I tell you, it's a strange one. When it first started, fine, there was that fire pit in the middle, and they have updated the fire pit in recent years. But certainly, the one thing I remember is you sit as close as you can to get warm, but then you get too warm, and then you back. It's like the English radiator moments that you're either too hot or too cold. But thankfully, with the balmy San Diego temperatures, it doesn't get too freezing, so that's really cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to taking part in that virtual meetup, if anything, because I think a lot of us. I mean, the reason why I wanted to focus and talk about the UK attendees group is because the UK attendees, at the end of the day, like all attendees groups coming from outside of the US, we have to jump through several more hoops than most to attend San Diego Comic Con. At the end of the day, it's West Coast, so it's a bitch to get to. Flights aren't cheap. At the end, you can get them relatively cheap, but if you're going to go direct or if you're just going to take a couple of stops, it ain't cheap. We have to go through the security rigmarole of getting a special certificate to kind of allow us to enter the country through Homeland Security. It's all sorts of things that we have to do, which makes the UK attendees group very grateful that we're there. It's something that the one thing that is almost universal for me, for the group, is that I don't think any of us take it for granted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, it's only getting more expensive with the value of the pound, unfortunately. I mean, just back in my first year, 2013, it was far more affordable to attend than what it will be now. But yeah, I don't think we do take it for granted, because I think so many members, especially those attending Comic Con for the first time, view it as a bucket list journey.
Sure.
I'm only going to do this once. I want to hit it as much as possible. And I think those who do attend it year after year, it's the highlight of their calendar in so many ways. They save up for the full year, they count down the days, they go through all the hoops that you talked about. So it's just a fantastic event, and San Diego is such a welcoming place for people coming from outside of America. You struggle to find a more friendlier place in the world.
Sure. I mean, I'm going to bring it up because you were talking there about the counting down of the to actually attend, and one of those things is very much the countdown posts that go up, the memory posts. I did mine this week, I got thrown under the bus by Caroline. Thank you so much indeed, darling. Much appreciate that. But it was fun to kind of put that post together, and I think it's been cool to have those posts go up. I mean, when have we been starting those up traditionally? Is it kind of like middle of June, something like that?
Karen, one of the mods, she usually kicks it off on the 1st of June, and we count down until the Comic Con. But I mean, the memory posts are always fantastic, but I think this year they've been more special because we don't have a Comic Con this year, so everyone has put a bit of heart into these posts.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I've got mine up here. I mean, I came at it a slightly different approach. I kind of took my jump off lead from Neil, because Neil decided he did a post, and it wasn't about the full 13 years that he's been going. He wanted to concentrate on last year, which was an emotional one for him because he hadn't gone the year previous. He was returning to San Diego Comic-Con, and he wanted to celebrate that individual year. And so I kind of did the same, because my Comic-Con has grown from, like you say, a bucket list event in 2010 to something which I am invited as press. I sometimes go as panels. I interview some bloody big names, and my convention career has stemmed in this decade, this 10 years. It's just gone. The fact that I now have some pretty big names in my email list, and I can talk to Bill Sienkiewicz and Jimmy Palmiotti, and that's all stemmed from me going to San Diego Comic-Con in 2010. So what I ended up doing was, instead of being able to pick one year, I just hit a random number generator on my phone, and I just went 2015. All right, fine. At which point I pulled up the memories of that particular year, including a picture which Caroline has never seen before. I don't know how, but she hasn't. And there's my typical outfit of my board shorts and my pale knees. Yeah, what else is new? And then, I mean, 2015 was a really cool year. Anyway, I mean, it was the first year I appeared on a panel, invited by Tony Kim. We had Alyssa Franks on there. We had Megan Gotch, the nerdy girlie, as well. And I got a sketch from Scotty Young when he said he wasn't going to do sketches. That's currently framed and hanging by my bed. So
that must be the only sketch in the world of Scotty Young doing Scotty Young.
I don't know. I don't know if it is, but if it is, I'll be happy. But it was a case of, I mean, very quickly to tell the tale if anyone doesn't really know it, and I'll make it quick because I have told a few. He wasn't doing sketches. He had announced on social media there was a queue of 200 people at least, all with books to get signed. He's done enough covers in his career that the piles were quite deep. And he'd said on social media, if I was going to get through this line, there's no way I can do sketches. At which point he sits himself down and gets a sketchbook out. At which point you could hear it in the crowd going, "Oh yes, here we go." All those blank variants come out, fantastic. Does 2 or 3, and then someone who was manning the table behind him just tapped him on the shoulder and just went, "You can't do it. You can't do sketches because there's no way you're going to get through the room. You're not going to get through all these people." So he puts the sketch pad away. Everyone groans. Fine. I go and put my pile down. He's going through the books and signing them. I'm talking about the UK group, talking about, because we'd spoken on social media. I think we'd met in Leeds a couple of years previous. And he gets to the blank, and I went, "Don't worry about that. I think I've got a plan for it. I think I've got someone else who can sketch on it, and I don't think you'd have done the sketch I wanted you to do anyway." And he went, "Excuse me?" I said, I don't think you'd have done it." I said, "Well, what was it?" I said, "Well, you do baby superheroes, you do baby Spider-Man, you do baby Hulk, and yeah, I wanted you to do baby you." Sorry, say what? "I wanted you to do baby Scotty Young." And by the time the words had come out my mouth, he was already throwing the pen down on the sketch cover, and I got one of the few sketch covers that day, and that's the one I got. And I got a very, I mean, what I love about it as well, it looks a little bit like Calvin and Hobbes. It's like Calvin's slightly evil older brother. So I like that real kind of menace and slightly goofy. He's a wastrel. He's a naughty little boy. But no, there we go. That was rather cool. So there was
it's
that.
funny. It's funny how much your accent can you get you extra points at Comic Con. So.
There is that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that in a second. Some great people we've met over in the States. We've got Rachel and we've got Jason there. Oh, hello. That's me being abusive about my Hall H, but we all got in line. All the American buddies as well. Hello, Mr. Stanley. I don't think you can hear the volume, so that's... Oh, there we go. Joss Whedon, of course, getting his... I believe that was his Lifetime Achievement that particular year, so it was his Spotlight panel. And then the last panel of that particular year for me, because I was also crewing one of the rooms, was upstairs, the... at Artist Alley how-to room 2A, and it was Jim Lee. And I introduced him on stage, and because I'm a mobile DJ, you give me a microphone and a crowd, and I'll just turn it on. And I gave him a rock and roll intro, and basically had them eating out the palm of my hand, and got the biggest cheer at the end of it. You could have peeled them off the ceiling by the way I'm done. Volume dies down, and he just goes, I think that's the best introduction I've ever been given at San Diego Comic-Con. And I just stood at the back of the room. That's it. So, yeah. I mean, it's memories left, right, and centre.
I mean,
2015.
Your pictures do tell the story that you can go to as many cons as you want in the UK, and not to diminish those cons. They're fantastic cons. But these experiences of getting a Scotty Young sketch, a Jim Lee introduction, and Zack Snyder and the Batmobile can only happen at San Diego Comic Con.
Absolutely. Mr. Eddie Ibrahim there. I don't know if this is actually still the memory post. Ah, yes, it is. So this is when they did the... that would be Man from U.N.C.L.E. So it would be the Warner Brothers. So they...
I loved that movie. I don't know why we never got a sequel, but I was a big fan.
I loved Man from U.N.C.L.E. Loved that film. Quentin Tarantino for Hateful Eight. You also had... Oh, good grief. So that would be... the Del Toro Ghost Story. The film that I never watched.
Del Toro and Hall H is worth going to Comic Con in itself. He's so crazy. It's so amazing.
Absolutely. Yes, at which point at the end of the day you had the WB... Oh no, it was Fox and Marvel. So you had... I mean, that's a picture actually taken by the other half. But my God, is that an iconic picture or what? I'm very proud of my missus for that. But there you go. Excellent stuff. So yeah, you're right. It is a case of it's individual. You don't get anything like San Diego Comic Con. I think it's because it's so big and it attracts so much talent. The hit rate is so much more. I mean, you go to a UK con, they get maybe 2 or 3 superstars, and then maybe a bunch of so like the second. In the UK, it's in San Diego Comic Con, it's hit, bang, 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 and it's just an incredible lineup. I mean, I've thrown up a couple of favourite memories, including ones which, I mean, if I just no, I'll let you do yours first. If you could talk about any favourites of yours.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you probably don't have access to your laptop at this point to get your pictures up, but no, if you could describe your favourite memories of yours.
Yeah, well, I always find it really difficult to pick a favourite. I think 2000. I always think you never forget your first time at Comic Con, and I think 2013 we did Hall H, and that was the day that we had the Batman versus Superman announcement. And the movie turned out the way it did, but I think that initial announcement was quite, that was when we realised what Comic Con was all about. that same day we had Tom Hiddleston as Loki, and I think that was the same year we had the X-Men Days of Future Past panel. That
Yeah.
maybe the following year, but having two generations of X-Men on stage was just a fantastic experience. So I think 2013 Hall, which I thought was the high point, and although every year's had its different experiences, I don't think anything has ever topped that.
I remember that year, if anything, because I experienced it from a condo bedroom
Yes,
through
yes,
through Twitter, because that was the year that Caroline broke her ankle.
yeah,
And she tried to do her experience of Comic Con on the Friday and the Saturday. Friday she was recovering, obviously. On the Thursday. Friday she tried to do Comic Con by wheeling herself around in a wheelchair. Got absolutely shattered and ended up spending the day in the condo on the Saturday. I decided that I would stay with her, look after her, go fetching and carrying, because I didn't want her to be struggling in the hotel while I was off doing Comic Con. So I decided I want to kind of look after her. And I was just going through Twitter. And yeah, Loki's on stage. All these things was going through. It was just, yeah, insane. That's insane.
one of the things I asked Caroline in her memory post, and I'll ask you the same question, and it's an impossible question to answer, but do you have a favourite year, or
No.
it's hard to pick?
That is, I really don't, because I could pick that 2015 because it was just an incredible year of just. I mean, it was the first year. I spoke to David Glanzer from Comic Con the week after. The Monday after we went out for a meal, and I had to admit that I had not only bought a ticket, but I was also going as press, and I was also going as a staff volunteer. So technically I had 3 badges, and I was part of the reason why their numbers were so skewed. They couldn't get a lockdown of how many people were actually attending because people were having like multiple badges. So I mean, 2015 was off the scale. But then the year after, I hosted my first panel.
Yeah.
It was the first panel I'd ever hosted in person. I'd done a number of hangouts and stuff like this online, but I'd never done a face-to-face panel. And my first Comic-Con panel was at San Diego Comic-Con. Talk about throwing myself in the deep end. It was insane. So that year was something else. Every year has just been, there's been something that's just made it memorable and made it special. I mean, for myself, if I am going to pick a moment, and it's the reason why I've kind of frozen the images on this particular picture and a group of pictures, is this was when a bunch of UK attendees in 2014. I mean, number one, it was the year that the lines were starting to go a bit mental.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of hiding and a lot of manoeuvring to start these clandestine lines before the official line started, before Comic-Con recognized it was becoming a problem and they created these feeder lines. These were unofficial lines, and it was the year it started to get a little bit out of control. That year, Eddie Ibrahim, who's the head of programming certainly for Hull H, but also for Comic-Con, he came out to see what the lines were like. A bunch of the Brits were out front. I think the picture comes up a little bit later, but it was great to. He came and had a picture with us. It's only a convention fan group that would find that picture interesting, because no one would know who the hell he is. But it's Eddie Ibrahim. Without him, he's the guy that helps throw on the party. But that particular year as well, like I say, there was a big group of us, and we were relatively close to the front of the lines of the tents. We were in at least the front two, and we got one of us got a tap on the shoulder from an intern saying, okay, are you guys Lord of the Rings fans? I said, yeah. And this is like, what, 12:30 at night? Are you Lord of the Rings fans? I said, yeah. You might want to wake yourselves up. And we had Andy Serkis and we had Lee Pace come and visit us. The reason why this, for me, is a really seminal moment for attending Comic-Con is this group that I'd put together on a whim on Facebook late at night in 2011, sorry. Literally just to find out if there were any Brits that went to Comic-Con. We all came together, we were wearing branded shirts, celebrating as a group, and we had these great pictures of the group together, and it was a special moment for me to have this thing that I kind of put together, and it was me. It's my fault. So
it's quite funny because one of the key themes that has appeared in so many memory posts this year from group members is not what panel that they saw or who they met in queue, but it was queuing up in itself with other Brits. So we've got folk last year who queued up for the Indigo Ballroom, who had a great time. There's myself, Emma, Paminda, we queued up for Ballroom 20. And it's the banter that you have whilst queuing up that sometimes is your highlight of going to Comic-Con. And it's not the things that you see on stage or the people that you meet.
You're looking very fresh-faced there, sir.
I'm definitely a few pound slimmer at that point.
But I like these as well. The fact that we all get to swapping bits and pieces and shirts and whatever. But yeah, always fun. Yeah, no, you're right. It is a case of everyone coming together, and it is the friends that you make that make Comic-Con. And you're absolutely right. Like you said, and I'm going to come back to it about the accent. About I started the group because I heard a lot of Brits in San Diego, not only up on stage but also just wandering around Gaslamp, and I'm going, hello, where's that Newcastle accent coming from? I find when I go, the received pronunciation, the BBC accent goes up a notch. And next thing you know, I'm explaining Doctor Who to somebody, or I'm talking Red Dwarf or something. I think that got interesting, especially when BBC America took off, and people were kind of discovering old television programs. People were discovering Spaced. People were discovering Black Books, and all of a sudden, being a Brit. I mean, it's still quite a novelty, but next thing you know, you had to become a font of knowledge of British pop culture. Have you found that?
Unfortunately, I've got the Glasgow accent, so unfortunately, it doesn't translate well over the Atlantic Ocean. So
you get the same thing. They just need subtitles.
Yes, exactly. So folk struggle to understand my accent, but yeah, everyone expects me to be an expert on Outlander. I've never seen this show, so I can't contribute to any discussion. I'm not a massive fan of Doctor Who, so I can't really hold a conversation. So I'm sorry to disappoint Americans that I come across that they know more about Doctor Who and Outlander than what I am.
We've got Dan Berry. Yeah, Dan's chiming in. Can't understand what he's saying. Don't worry. If you are watching this on Facebook Live, subtitles are provided, so don't worry about it. Obviously, this year is different because it is a case of we're having the virtual con. This year, for the Brits, I mean, I have suspected, and I think we all do as well, I think you'll agree with me on this one, they're going to run it. Although it's going to be on YouTube and it's going to be streamed, it's going to be like the actual convention is taking place, which means you're going to be having doors open at 10 Pacific and then going through till 6, 7, whatever. Which means, and I know that Neil could chime in on this, and people who say skipped a year and follow San Diego Comic-Con and follow all of our little adventures while we're out there. It's going to be a bit of a mess for our body clocks because we're talking what 5 o'clock in the afternoon through till 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Could be. First of all, I think the virtual con lineup so far is pretty impressive. What we do in the shadows, rumours about Marvel being in town. I think so many of the group members who were going this year are still going to be off work so that they can stay up late to watch the panels. So although we're not in San Diego, I'm gutted about not being at Comic Con. I think CCI have, from what we've seen so far, put on quite an impressive lineup. And when should schedules be released? Is it 2 weeks before the con?
I think they're going to do it 2 weeks before, which means you're looking at next weekend. I think next weekend we're going to see the full official lineup. My concern is, or what I actually wanted to see, is multiple channels. I mean, I know that when I've brought this up with the unofficial blog, they turn around and say, well, they can kind of do this with playlists. Yes, they can, kinda. But what I would have preferred is multiple rooms, basically, which meant you could have had, and we are seeing listings for smaller room panels. So you're seeing a number for the books and the literature tracks. You're seeing some for animation. You're seeing some for diversity. You're seeing those panels that you would have seen in the smaller rooms upstairs, around the back of the upstairs above Hall H. It's not just going to be about the big room panels. So I'm wondering how they're going to actually keep those together so that they're not going to get lost in the mix. Where everyone's going to go and watch the What We Do in the Shadows panel and forget that there's this great panel on discovering the legalities of Yoda being adopted, kind of thing. I don't know. So whatever panel it could be, I'm hoping that they're going to work some way of showcasing those panels properly, and not so they're not going to get lost in the mix.
I think your suggestion is a bit more personal as well, because I think CCI just dumped a bunch of videos on YouTube that you just go through. Well, it's quite impersonal. So I think your suggestion does definitely adds a bit more of a personal touch to what they could be showing this year. I'm quite interested to see how the exhibition floor works out, because reading it seems like they put quite a lot of money into making it an interactive space, whereas I originally thought it was just going to be a list of exhibitors and
like they did with WonderCon. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, all it is a HTML page with the map with hot points, and I guarantee if you click on it, it just takes you to an individual page and does the same thing. So same drill. I'm curious to see how they're going to do it. I mean, I'd be really up for seeing how they do it.
I think it's unfortunate that DC are doing their own event, because I think if they were part of Comic Con at home, it would have just took it to another level. But we'll be quite interested to see how they approach their con as well.
Quite right. I know that I've got to let you go because I know that you've got family commitments. But before you do, I am going to very quickly talk about something else as well. I would have to pull up the folder with all the other logos. But basically, something that has been, and I might do it while when you go. I'll show the new one, and then I'll go back and show the old one. Something that's been a really big part of the group from its very inception. Like I say, I made up a logo very, very quickly, which was Judge Dredd, and the idea was it was the eye of Judge Dredd, or that shine in his helmet, taking the place of the Comic-Con I in the logo. So it was Judge Dredd taking that space. At which point I then put a bunch of other logos together. I think I did the Mekon, I did Dennis the Menace, or Nasher certainly. Basically a bunch of Brit comic characters in the logo space. The year after, I managed to get Lee Gallagher, who's an artist for 2000 AD, to do us a headshot sketch of John Constantine. And we put him in the logo, and it then became every year this thing to have a rock star comics artist give us a headshot, which we then put into the logo. And we had the original sketch, and then we had the logo as well. We put them on the t-shirts, put them on hoodies, and they became the logo for that year and for the merch. And it was a way for us to have this handshake of, I'm part of the UK attendees group. We have been staggeringly lucky over the year with the artists that we've had, from Rachel Stott to just down the line, in Churchill. It's just been,
was a good one.
That was an excellent one. You had Sean Phillips, his first digital piece, and the great thing about that piece as well was it was of Professor X, which is a bald guy. How the hell you can differentiate that from any other bald guy, or when it's just his face? How can you do it? And he did it with this, so like showing his mutant powers. It was stunning, and it was his first digital piece. It was incredible. But before I let you go, I mean, just to talk about this, because it is the logo for this year, which kind of got organised a little bit last minute, but still, I'm very chuffed with it. Let me just bring up that piece of art and go to that and photos, share. Here we go. And this is the headshot which he delivered for us. This is Nick Brokenshire, who does some great artwork for IDW. He's got some great books, artwork being shown up on his Facebook page at the moment. So it was done as a poll, as the character, last year, when we all thought we were going to San Diego this year. And the chosen character was Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. At which point, as the UK attendees group, we've got that. I mean, what was your thoughts when that showed up and I showed that was what was going to be our logo this year?
Well, I mean, obviously Picard is in the news at the moment due to the new Amazon TV show, and the lines on his face capture his experience. But you know, the group logos are always fantastic, and we've had some amazing artists do them over the years. I remember meeting Rachel Stott at Glasgow Comic Con and showing her the T-shirt that we had printed off, and she was blown away with it. But I think what the group logo has done as well is inform group members or remind group members that they can get commissions. So there's so many group members who go to Comic Con every year and decide, oh, I'm going to get my own commission. I like Arrow, or I like Supergirl. I'm going to get a Supergirl commission. So I think it serves its purpose in terms of highlighting a UK talent, allowing group members to show a bit of pride in the group whilst at Comic Con, but also allows members to go down that rabbit hole of getting commissions. I know that's what my story is. I found out about commissions through the group, and I go to Comic Con every year and get a new commission. So.
Let me just, I mean, can you stop a little bit longer? Just a little bit longer?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, in that case, I'll make this real quick. Let's go for, these were the group logos that I put together. So there's Captain Britain as one of the first ones, because I did a group of Death. So these are all Brit characters, or at least created by Brit artists, and there's definitely a British connection there. There's Dennis, the proper Dennis, never the actual Dennis the Mess, Desperate Dan, and there you go, the original the Judge Dredd, which that still has a lot. That has a place in my heart. That really has a place in my heart as the first logo I put together.
I think that still appears on group T-shirts because a lot of group members have it on the front.
Yeah, on the front one, yeah. Last year's was rather cool. Artwork by Steve Bryant, doing Stan Lee. We managed to get that as a nice little 3D kind of vibe to it. Celebrating, of course, Stan Lee. Obviously, not a Brit character, but we had to show full support for Stan in his passing. But then we had a couple of others. So we had Rogue Trooper. I know the Rogue Trooper one. I know it happens to be a fan of Tanya. Tanya Hamilton, who's a member. Yeah, she likes the Rogue Trooper. Then again, I think that's comic fans of a certain age. That's me and her.
I've always wanted Giles from Buffy to win the poll, but he always comes close. He gets in the top 3, but he never makes it. So I'm going for lobbying.
Yeah. I think you're gonna have to be a little bit more political about it this year. Just, push it a bit further. The Mekon, that was a good one because I posted that and I wanted to see how many people got it, and a lot of people did. I was happy about that. But let's actually move on to the ones, like I say, the artwork that was done. I mean, this is framed in my house. When I think of John Constantine, this is what I think of. This is he actually drew my Constantine, which is insane. So it's just an incredible piece of work by Lee Gallagher. This is the Sean Phillips one from 2014. I mean, like I say, you couldn't actually say that is Professor X, but you've got it's the eye, it's the focus. You've got the beams coming out of it from behind, and like I say, his first digital piece, which is rather cool. Wow, just wow. This was Ian Churchill, who did Powers with Jonathan Ross. He did a comic with Jonathan Ross. That's how I met him. And I asked him if he'd be up for doing Gandalf, Ian McKellen, and delivered this thing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That actually, the great thing about that piece as well, I remember he did a physical drawing, and we all raffled it off for charity, which was cool. That was it.
I was looking through some of the logos today, and I was laughing. We could do a load sketchbook of the amount of fantastic artwork that we've been donated to over the years. I mean, that Gandalf one is.
Chateau, what's really frustrating about that? My mum is not a group member. She doesn't really follow what I do. But a week after the auction ended, and it went for like 300 quid. I showed her, oh look, this was the piece, and she went, I'd have bought that.
Yeah.
And my mum turned around and went, I'd have bought that. I went, oh, well, there you go. Well, you should have let me know. So there's that one, which was rather cool. That was Rachel Stott's, and that was that. I mean, all of these are just stunning.
Yeah,
I'm just gobsmacked by just how lucky we've been. So Agent Carter. Right, let's talk about that year, actually. I approached Rachel Stott if she'd be up for doing the piece, but I approached a number of artists, and I got an email within 20 minutes of each other of 2 artists, Rachel Stott and David Lloyd, who did the artwork for V for Vendetta. Very quickly to tell this story, both of them submitted the piece. I decided, tell you what, I can't turn either of them down. We'll put them up and people can choose which one they want. At which point he sent this artwork through of the eye from V for Vendetta, and I went, I'm thinking about just putting a little bit of the fabric perhaps in the hat or in the shadow. Just to kind of like pop it, and went, you touch it and you don't use it. Mm-hmm. This is how I've sent it. This is the eye. That's the one, and it's in the brief. That's the. Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to mention my name. He gave me so many stipulations, but you know what? I went, you've earned it, and it's V for Vendetta, and I can't complain.
I never knew that you weren't allowed to mention his name. That's quite a. But I mean, how do you say no to
You can't.
Rachel or David's pieces. I mean, that's V for Vendetta. It's V for Vendetta.
You know what? For I think the reason why it kind of threw me is because the ones we'd had in the previous years were slightly more detailed headshots, whereas David literally got the square and put V's eye in there, and it's really simple. I mean, it's a clean design, but I think that actually it's grown on me every single year. Every time I come back to it, it's a beautiful design. I think that's stunning. So there, David Lloyd. David fucking Lloyd. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
John Davis Hunt.
I'm not allowed to pick a favourite of any of these because they're all fantastic, but Ray's one of my favourite Star Wars characters, and I mean, that captures...
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. I've tried to get the actress who played Rey, whose name suddenly escapes me, just to get her attention on this. But yeah. John is an amazing artist. I've been a fan of his. If you get the chance to read the Wildstorm he did with Warren Ellis, do. Just wow. That's all I can really say about most of these. It's just wow. So that's 2017. 2018, Simon Myers doing a 10th Doctor. I keep forgetting about this one. Keep forgetting about that. That's just amazing. And yes, this was the first time I met Scotty. He did as a Judge Dredd. Well, he did me a Judge Dredd anyway. And I said, tell you what, I'm going to use that as the limited edition one. So that was the limited edition. And I think, like I say, I think I've actually got the original pieces.
They're fantastic. It just shows you how fortunate that we are. And I mean, you mentioned it before, but we've managed to raise, a few £100 for good causes along the way, which is the icing on the cake. But I mean, if we could collect these all in a sketchbook, I'm sure we would be rich men, Robin.
we do nicely, wouldn't we? And there you go. I mean, you were talking about the Scotty, which would probably which is probably worth quite a bit.
Yeah,
that's probably up there. That'd probably do it. So there we go. That's my little collection. But I wanted to bring those up because the group has just been incredibly fortunate. Not only with the things that we've managed to achieve as a group, but also the people. I don't think we've had any major fallouts. We've had a couple of moans, but only stuff which kind of like gets water under the bridge after a while.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start, I'm in a few geeky, nerdy Facebook groups, and every day their entitlement is unbelievable, and you don't really get that in the UK attendees group. And I think it goes back to the point that you made earlier about people are just so fortunate that they can attend Comic Con and they're just completely positive about it.
Yeah.
But, and I should say, I mean, it's fantastic to have these artworks donated in the artist's free time, particularly this year when it's quite an unstable market for a lot of these freelancers. So we definitely appreciate Nick for doing this year more so than any other year.
Yeah, very much so. I think, I mean, we're coming up to the hour now, and I think we'll just we'll kind of start winding things up. But I mean, for yourself, what do you see for the group moving forward? Is it more a case of more of the same because we have been so lucky and we are in such a good place as a Comic-Con group? Because I think something else that we haven't mentioned is you mentioned about getting the badges. One thing that we've been incredibly lucky with is organising the badge groups, and our hit rate has been very good. Yeah,
I mean, 90% of the time people get all 4 days, so we've got a good track record for that. But that brings on an important point that quite a lot of members decide, I'm going to take a break in 2020 but I'll be back in 2021. And now those same group members are saying, will there be a badge sale later this year? I think the chances of it are quite slim. So they could go 2 years without a Comic Con. So I think the group's got a wee important point in terms of how do we retain interest in San Diego Comic Con, even though we could go a while without a badge sale.
No, I know what you mean. I'm also really curious. Well, I mean, we kind of talked about that earlier with the fact that we don't just necessarily just talk about San Diego. We talk about MCM. We talk about other conventions. New York, when people go to New York, the London Film Comic Con. There's these meetups, impromptu meetups that happen there. The fact that the conversation keeps rolling, and I don't think people will get jaded of it. I think, if anything, this will make the group stronger because we are kind of we're all in a group hug of the fact that we're missing these events.
One of the things we did at the start of lockdown was launch a weekly quiz, quite similar to what you're doing with having 2 podcasters a week, as a check-in to make sure that people are coping under this stressful situation that we're all living under. And that's been great. But James Ormiston, a group member who's also a mod, has suggested if London and Film Comic Con happens in November, December, then we'll have a group meetup. And we do that at every con that we do attend. I know you've organised meetups at Pop Bubble. We've had meetups at the Star Fury events, the MCM events. So we do try and keep the conversation going throughout the year, not just during a badge sale or during Comic Con itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's, like I say, I think that's going to keep the group strong moving forward. And yeah, I think it's going to be a long year between now and next July. But I think the conversation about the virtual con, SDCC at home, that's going to tide things along. And if anything, what we can expect from San Diego next year, because I'm really curious to see how, as a group, we feel about traveling to the States, even next July, where the pandemic has eased, what the tensions are like, because it's not just about the pandemic anymore.
It's a whole ball game in that. I mean, I think, we do hope a vaccine's found and it's rolled out as soon as possible. We do hope that the world goes back to a normal that we remembered it, even though we all talk about a new normal. So I think the group is just trying to be positive that San Diego Comic Con 2021 will happen, and we'll all have a great time. But I suppose you'll be approaching 2021 quite interesting because you've had a break. It'll be like going back to your first Comic Con and after having 2 years.
Yeah, considering it'll be 2 years that we've had off because we didn't go last year. This was going to be our grand return. Michael P, how about auctioning off 2 lifetime membership, non-transferable proceeds going to charity? What, memberships for the UK attendees group? It's free to enter.
I wish you didn't say that because we could make a bit of money if we started charging membership. No, I would say to Michael, the group is open to everyone, not just people from the UK. We do have a lot of folk from America in the group. Dan Berry.
Yeah, I mean, let me see if I can. I was going to say if I can just zoom in on this because there are a couple of honorary Brits in there, which is cool to see.
And I've watched a few of your shows to know that Michael is a fan of The Expanse, so I can assure him that we have a few Expanse fans in the group as well. Tanya, Graham, who would be more than happy than to chat about The Expanse to him.
Absolutely. It's the year that Caroline broke a leg. Oh, it's 2013. Okay, so that was the year it was. So yeah, that was an interesting year, and I think that's the last in that particular folder. But I think it's a good one to finish on because it kind of shows us at us best when we're all kind of like smiling and come together and we're just happy to be there. I know that there are some Americans that are feeling a little bit jaded about the country at the moment. Certainly feeling about how it feels like there's a lot of America divided and very fractured. When we come over, and I don't know if it's because it's the rose-tinted spectacles of San Diego Comic Con and indeed San Diego generally, but we get to see the best of America. We see an America which is very open, which is very friendly. We are always greeted with open arms. I feel. I can't think of any moments that we've had. Get out of here, you filthy limey. I don't think we've had any of those anytime soon. But no, like I say, the only difference, the only time that we will ever disagree, America, is that you cannot drink.
Also a pint. I remember the first time. That was my first San Diego Comic Con, and I remember myself and Grant went to Henry's bar, and I asked for a pint, and there was no head on it, and I was thinking, what is happening here? So that was my first welcome to America. That friendly service, couldn't beat it, but could not pull a pint.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm proud that we put the group. I can't believe I get to say this. I'm glad I put the group together. I'm glad I stepped away because now I can enjoy the group as a member. I mean, I don't know what it feels like for you as the person who has to corral it every once in a while. Again, but like you say, the members do look after themselves.
It's not an issue because everyone is just
yeah, absolutely.
Everyone is very polite and respectful, and so the group runs itself for a while.
Yeah, we've got one or two people jumping in on the comments. Carol Harrington Burns is saying hi. As a San Diego native, we're just chill and welcoming. Yes, and there's a Shamrock there. Can I just say there are a couple of really good Irish bars in town.
Yeah.
The field is particularly nice. Yeah, there you go. Dark Stitch. This is my first break from San Diego Comic Con in 40 years. Ouch. Good Lord.
I wonder how you're doing.
I don't know how you're doing. I think this has come off the back of this comment. Danbury, first break from SDCC in over 20. Michael P. Gary, DM me about The Expanse. So, yeah, there you go. I think, it's safe to say you've got a whole bunch. Leanne D. Can someone in the UK group adopt me? Expanse fan here. I've had a number of people turning around and saying, can we adopt some people and bring them? I think they just want to kind of escape the situation at the moment. It's getting you on the plane at the moment. I think that's slightly difficult. Toby reminding, it's Daisy Ridley that we were talking about with the actress behind Ray. Let's have a look at other ones. We've got one or two comments about how they're doing other virtual cons, but there we go. Leanne D, I'm hoping that the videos will be able to be replayed. I'm guessing they will, because it's going up on YouTube, so I'm guessing that's how they're going to do it. I guess we find out next week. So watch this space. We'll be doing a little bit of a special episode on the announcement of of what's going on, because, like I say, I've got something I'm going to announce about my guests for next week, and then we'll get on to the rest of it. But that's us. I'm going to put this up. I don't know what this is going to do to our membership, but we'll find out. Facebook.com/group/Comic-Con UK attendees. It is a private group on Facebook, purely just to keep some form of policing involved, just so we don't get swamped by all sorts of unsavory types, of which, if you are a Facebook user, you will know there are a number of. But even if you're not from the UK, if you are from the UK, great. We will help you any way we can to get you to San Diego and enjoy it the best you can. If you're not, we do take honorary members. If anything, if you can help with local knowledge and if you want to be part of a group which spells colour correctly, that's what we're there for. So all are welcome, he says, with a question mark. Gary?
Yes, again, the group is open to everyone. It's a friendly place. You do have to put up with Dan Berry's sarcasm every so often, but we still appreciate Dan. So, yeah, please come and join us.
Excellent. So there we go. That's the group. Do find out more, and it's been a pleasure to talk about it because it's something I'm particularly proud of, and the memories I have of San Diego are very much tied in with the way that the group has evolved. Gary, thank you very much indeed for coming on, man. We've kept you longer than I said that we were, so I'll let you get off and do your family bits and pieces. Is there anything that you do online that people want to follow, or is it more something off the beaten track?
No, I've got a terrible social media presence. Social media scares me. It's just such an angry place. So you can find me on a group. The link is on the screen. So please come join us. And we look forward to seeing you all in San Diego next year.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Gary, thank you very much indeed, man. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
No worries. Take care. So there you go. Gary Quigley. He's the guy that, in my stead, runs the UK attendees group, and I would heartily recommend you checking it out if you are interested in joining a friendly bunch of people. Dan Berry, Groucho Marx said it best: I refuse to join club that would have me as a member. Well, we have you as a member, so I don't think we're doing too badly. So there we go. Right. It's been a pleasure talking about that, and I hope you've fine with indulging me talking about it. Which leads me on to what else is happening over the course of the next couple of days. We are going to be doing our show on Wednesday, and we have got someone particularly special and particularly juicy for next week. Basically, this was introduced to us from Russ Burlingame, who was on the last couple of episodes. He is a writer for comicbook.com and happens to have a fair few people in his address book, at which point he then contacted one of them and said, would you be up for coming on the show? This was Wednesday just gone, and as it happens, the person involved discovered the timing of said podcast at 5 minutes into the actual show. So I missed his emails, he missed the show. The good news is he's agreed to come on Wednesday's show. We are talking the legendary Erik Larsen, one of the Image Comics founders, the man behind Savage Dragon, and a proper gent. I'm looking forward to talking to this guy. He is he's an icon in comics, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about his convention experiences, his favourite memories, his interactions with fans, what he feels about missing San Diego this year, and all sorts of highlights from his career. I think it's going to be a cool chat, and looking forward to talking to Erik Larsen this Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. However, we have ourselves one of our incidental episodes. These are episodes where perhaps the guests can't join us on our Wednesday or Sunday, but they'd still like to come on and do a live show. They'd still like to talk to us. As it happens, we've got one this Tuesday. So if you wouldn't mind joining us, like I say, the Wednesday show will be going ahead on the 8th, but on the 7th, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, we're going to be talking to Joseph P. Illich. Joe is a guy that I met when he was involved with a Blue Wave World, when they were putting together the incredible anthology that they put together. But he is now part of the team, the editorial team, that is now bringing the profile of Heavy Metal magazine to a wider audience in 2020. He's a cool guy, an interesting guy, a fantastic career, and it's going to be great to talk to him. He's somebody who is very opinionated. He knows what is in his mind, and he's just a great conversationalist. He's someone to talk to, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to Joe Illich. That's going to be this Tuesday, if you wouldn't mind joining us. The best way to keep an eye on it, go to notifications. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, hit notifications. It tells you when we're going live. But that's this Tuesday. Hopefully you can join us for that. Dan Berry's reminding us Eric Larson is the guy that replaced Todd McFarlane on the Spider-Man series. Indeed. The man's had a career, and he's got plenty to talk about. So that's going to be on Wednesday with Eric Larson. Next week, if we follow the usual plan, San Diego Comic-Con is going to be announcing the schedule lineup for its panel representation at Comic-Con at home, or SDCC at home. Which means what we're going to do is I'm going to hopefully get one or two bodies together to talk about the lineup, to talk about virtual Comic-Con. If I could, I have been emailing David Glanzer regularly to get him to come on and talk about the panels, and to talk about how the convention is going to be organised this year. If we can get him, great. If we can't, we tried. Simple as that. But hopefully next weekend, if we look at the calendar, because we are 3 weekends away from Comic-Con at home, next weekend, 9th through to 12th, we should be getting the panel lineups for Comic-Con at Home 2020. And we'll be talking you through those panels next weekend. So 2 great shows, 2 great interviews this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we're back next Sunday with Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. SDCC at Home special with the panel announcements and lineups for this year. It's going to be a little bit of a panel breakdown. We're going to pick out some highlights, try and show some love for those smaller presentations which may get lost in the mix. Let's see if we can support those panels the best we can. And we'll finally find out about Marvel, about Paramount, about Sony, about whatever. Andrew English, see you next week. I keep missing the weekday show. You're going to have to watch them, mate. You're going to have to catch up with them because we've had some good ones. Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much indeed. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's started to absolutely throw it down here in the UK. So stay dry, stay safe. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, so keep washing your hands. If you can, wear your masks when you go out. Keep your distance from people. Let's see if we can continue to stem the tide of this horrible disease. Take care. We'll see you soon. And for myself, Leonard, please do subscribe. Do follow what I do on social media, Englishman SDCC. Any comments, any questions, drop them a line on social media. I'll do my best to answer, as always. And of course, we'll see you Tuesday for Joe Illich, and then Wednesday with Eric Larson. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.